Keisha Williams had perfected the art of being invisible. In Dae-Sung Lee's Miami penthouse, 30 floors above the glittering chaos of South Beach, she moved like a ghost, dusting marble sculptures worth more than her yearly salary, polishing floors that reflected the city's neon glow, straightening silk pillows that would never hold an imprint because the man who owned this palace rarely slept. She'd worked here for 6 months. He'd looked at her maybe twice. That was fine. Better than fine. Invisible meant safe. Invisible meant she could do her job, both jobs, without complications. The legitimate one, keeping this 10,000 square foot monument to wealth spotless. The real one, gathering evidence that would bring down Miami's most dangerous Korean crime syndicate. FBI Special Agent Rodriguez had recruited her 8 months ago. "We need someone on the inside," he'd said. "Someone he'll never suspect." A black woman from Liberty City, working as domestic help. She was perfect. Invisible. But tonight, as she arranged orchids in the dining room where Dae-Sung would host rival family heads, Keisha's hands trembled, because she'd just seen something that changed everything. Something that meant her cover, her mission, her carefully constructed invisibility was about to shatter. Someone was trying to kill him. The poison glinted in the kitchen's recessed lighting, barely visible crystals dissolved into the gochujang sauce that would accompany tonight's galbi. Keisha's pulse hammered as she stood frozen in the doorway watching the chef's assistant, a thin Korean man named Min, stir the contaminated sauce with steady hands. He didn't know she was there. The kitchen staff never noticed her. Nobody did. Min poured the sauce into an ornate ceramic bowl, the same bowl she'd seen Dae-Sung eat from 100 times. Her mind raced. She should leave. Report this to Rodriguez. Let the plan unfold. Dae-Sung Lee was a criminal, the man whose organization she'd infiltrated. His death would accomplish what months of investigation hadn't, but her feet wouldn't move. She thought of the way he'd looked 3 nights ago when he'd returned at dawn, shoulders slumped with exhaustion most people never saw. How he'd paused in his study doorway, startled to find her dusting his bookshelves at 5 a.m. For one unguarded moment, his expression had softened. "You're always here," he'd said quietly. Not accusatory, almost grateful. "Someone should be," she'd replied before catching herself. His dark eyes had held hers for 3 heartbeats. Then his mask slipped back into place, and he'd walked past her as if she didn't exist. But she'd seen it. That flicker of lonely humanity beneath the ruthless exterior. Min exited through the service entrance, and Keisha forced herself to breathe. She had maybe 10 minutes before the dinner service began, before Dae-Sung and his guests sat down to a meal that would kill them all. "Do your job," her training screamed. "This is what you wanted. Evidence. Justice." But her hands were already moving, dumping the poisoned sauce down the disposal, her heart threatening to crack her ribs. She grabbed fresh ingredients, her fingers flying as she recreated the sauce from memory. She'd watched the kitchen staff prepare Korean dishes dozens of times, absorbing everything while pretending to clean. She'd just finished transferring the new sauce into the ceramic bowl when footsteps echoed in the hallway. Keisha's blood turned to ice. Dae-Sung Lee entered the kitchen, and the air itself seemed to shift in response to his presence. 6'2" of lethal grace, dressed in black slacks and a white shirt with 4 buttons undone, revealing the black ink of his neck tattoo, a tiger in mid-strike, Korean calligraphy flowing down his collarbone. His dark hair was pushed back, jaw sharp enough to cut, eyes like obsidian chips that missed nothing. Those eyes fixed on her now with laser focus. "What are you doing in here?" His voice was smooth, controlled, with the barest trace of a Korean accent. He spoke English perfectly. Second generation, born in LA, raised between 2 worlds. Keisha's mind blanked. She was still holding the bowl of sauce. The disposal was still running. Her voice cracked. "Mr. Lee, the dinner starts in 5 minutes. He stepped closer and she caught his scent. Expensive cologne and something darker. Dangerous. "Why is my maid in the kitchen?" "Don't eat that." The words burst from her lips before she could stop them. Dae-Sung froze, his eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" "The sauce, the gochujang, it was—" She couldn't say poisoned. Couldn't reveal she'd been watching, investigating, knowing things a simple maid shouldn't know. Something was wrong with it. I saw something in it. Crystals, it didn't look right. Crystals." His tone was flat, skeptical. He moved closer, invading her space until she had to tilt her head back to meet his gaze. This close, she could see the thin scar cutting through his left eyebrow, the exhaustion bruising the skin beneath his eyes. And you decided to throw away tonight's dinner preparation because you saw crystals? Yes. Her hands were shaking so badly, the bowl rattled. I know it sounds crazy, but I swear, who are you? The question was sharp as a blade. I'm Keisha, your maid. I've worked here for... I know your name. His hand shot out, gripping her wrist, not painfully, but firm enough to hold her in place. His skin was warm against hers. I'm asking who you really are, what game you're playing. I'm not playing anything, I'm trying to save your life. Why would a maid care if I live or die? The question hung between them, loaded with suspicion and something else, genuine curiosity, as if the concept of someone caring about his survival was foreign. Because... Keisha's throat tightened. Because nobody deserves to be poisoned. Not even you. His eyes searched her face, and she realized with a start that this was the longest he'd ever looked at her. Really looked. Seeing her for the first time, the warm brown skin, the natural hair she kept pulled back in a simple bun, the curves her uniform couldn't quite hide, the intelligence in her dark eyes that she usually kept carefully veiled. Not even me, he repeated softly. You know what I am, what I do. I know you're dangerous. I know people fear you. I know... She stopped herself before saying too much. I know you're not the kind of man people usually try to save. A muscle ticked in his jaw. His grip on her wrist loosened but didn't release. Show me. What? The original sauce, where is it? I destroyed it. Down the disposal. His eyes flashed with something dark. Anger. Or fear, she couldn't tell. Then you've just made yourself my only witness. My only proof that tonight's dinner was compromised. He released her wrist and pulled out his phone, rapid-fire Korean filling the space between them as he barked orders to someone on the other end. When he finished, his attention returned to her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. The dinner is cancelled. My guests will be disappointed. The way he said it suggested disappointment would be the least of anyone's problems. But first, you're going to tell me everything. Who you saw, what you saw, every detail. I told you. No. He stepped even closer, and now she was trapped between his body and the kitchen counter, heat radiating off him like a furnace. You told me what you did. Not why. Not why a maid who I barely acknowledge risks her job, maybe her life, to save mine. Keisha's breath came shallow. She could feel the hard edge of the counter pressing into her lower back, could feel the dangerous warmth of him inches away. His eyes bore into hers, demanding truth she couldn't give. Maybe I'm just stupid, she whispered. No. His hand came up, fingers brushing her jaw in a touch so gentle, it contrasted violently with everything else about him. You're many things, Keisha Williams, but stupid isn't one of them. The way he said her name, carefully, as if tasting it, made something low in her stomach clench. So I'll ask you again. His thumb traced her cheekbone, and his voice dropped to a lethal whisper. Who are you really? And why do you care if I die? 3 hours later, Keisha sat in Dae-sung's private study, a room she'd cleaned but never truly entered. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Miami's glittering coastline, shelves lined with Korean literature and American philosophy, a desk that probably cost more than her car, and security footage playing on multiple screens. There. Dae-sung froze the image, his finger pointing to the timestamp. Min Soo-jin, kitchen assistant for 8 months, hired through our standard vetting process. Keisha leaned forward, studying the grainy footage of Min carefully adding the poison to the sauce. Her sauce. The sauce meant for Dae-sung's mouth. Who sent him? She asked. Dae-sung's expression was carved from stone. That's what we're going to find out. We? She turned to face him. He'd shed his jacket, and the white shirt pulled across broad shoulders as he braced his hands on the desk. The neck tattoo seemed alive in the low light, the tiger ready to pounce, Korean characters spelling out something she couldn't read. You're involved now, whether you want to be or not. His eyes found hers. You saved my life. That creates complications. I just did what anyone would do. No. He moved around the desk with predatory grace. Most people would have let it happen. Especially someone in your position. Her heart stuttered. My position? A black woman working as a maid for a Korean crime boss. His lips curved into something too sharp to be a smile. You think I don't know how my staff sees me? How this city sees me? You had every reason to walk away, to let me die. But I didn't. No. He stopped in front of her chair, and she had to tilt her head back again to maintain eye contact. God. He was tall, imposing. The kind of presence that filled a room and demanded submission. You didn't. And now someone knows you interfered. Min is missing, fled the moment he realized the dinner was cancelled. Whoever hired him will know their plan failed. Cold dread settled in Keisha's stomach. They'll know I stopped it. Yes. No hesitation. No false comfort. Which means you're not safe here anymore. Not in your apartment in Liberty City. Not anywhere in Miami. You can't know that. I know exactly that. His voice hardened. I've survived in this business for 10 years because I understand how it works. Witnesses disappear. Loose ends get tied up. You became a loose end the moment you threw that sauce away. Keisha's hands clenched in her lap. This was spiraling beyond her control. Rodriguez needed to know about this. She needed to contact her handler, explain the situation, extract herself before... You'll stay here. Her head snapped up. What? In the penthouse, under my protection. Dae-sung's tone brooked no argument. 24-hour security. No one gets in or out without my knowledge. I can't just move into your home. You can, and you will. He crouched in front of her chair, bringing them eye to eye, and the sudden proximity stole her breath. Listen to me very carefully, Keisha. The people who tried to kill me tonight don't play games. They don't leave witnesses. If they sent Min, they're serious, organized. Probably one of the rival families trying to move on my territory during the summit. The summit? 5 major Korean syndicates meeting in Miami to negotiate territory and trade routes. It's why tonight's dinner was so important, showing strength, unity. His jaw clenched. Someone wanted me dead before those negotiations even started. Keisha's mind raced. Rodriguez had mentioned the summit. It was the whole reason she'd been activated as an asset, to gather intelligence on the meeting. So you'll use me as bait, she said quietly. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, maybe respect. Smart. Yes, partially. If whoever sent Min thinks you're under my protection, they might make another move. Get sloppy. And I might die in the process. Not while I'm breathing. The vehemence in his voice startled her. He reached out, his hand cupping her chin, tilting her face toward his. I don't let people who save my life die for their trouble. Call it a code. Call it pride. Call it whatever you want. But you're mine to protect now. Yours to protect. The words sent heat spiraling through her despite every rational thought screaming this was wrong. She was FBI. He was a criminal. This wasn't protection, it was captivity dressed in expensive silk, but his touch was so gentle. His eyes held hers with an intensity that felt like being seen for the first time in her life. What if I refuse? She whispered. Then you'll die within 48 hours, and I'll have failed the only person who gave a damn whether I lived or not. His thumb brushed her lower lip, and electricity crackled along her nerves. Don't make me fail you, Keisha. She should say no. Should contact Rodriguez immediately. Should remember every reason why this man was the enemy. Instead, she heard herself whisper, how long? Until we find who sent Min. Until the summit concludes. Until you're safe. His hand dropped from her face, but the warmth lingered. 1 week, maybe 2. 2 weeks trapped in a penthouse with Miami's most dangerous man. 2 weeks pretending to be a helpless maid when she was actually an FBI plant. 2 weeks lying to someone who'd just promised to protect her with his life. This was a disaster. This was perfect for her mission. This was going to destroy her. Okay, she breathed. 1 week. Dae-sung stood, and the loss of his proximity felt like cold water. I'll have your things brought from your apartment. You'll stay in the East Wing, your own room, your own space. But you don't leave without security. You don't make calls without my knowledge. You trust no one except me. And if I need to, if I have family to contact. His eyes narrowed slightly. Family? A cousin? In Liberty City? She'll worry if I disappear. It was a lie. A necessary one. She needed to contact Rodriguez, and soon. Give me the number. I'll have someone notify her that you're safe. Working extended hours, nothing specific. Of course he wouldn't let her make the call herself. He wasn't stupid. Okay, she said again, feeling the walls closing in. Dae-sung moved to the windows, his silhouette stark against Miami's neon glow. You asked me earlier what my tattoo means. Keisha blinked at the subject change. I didn't. You looked at it. In the kitchen. He turned slightly, and she could see the black ink coiling down his neck. It's a tiger. Korean traditional style. The characters say survive or die. My father had me get it when I was 16, when I took my first life. The admission hung heavy in the air. Why are you telling me this? Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Because you saved a monster tonight, Keisha. His eyes found hers across the room. and monsters don't forget their debts. Keisha's new room was larger than her entire Liberty City apartment. Silk sheets in deep emerald, a bathroom with heated floors and a rainfall shower, windows overlooking Biscayne Bay where yachts bobbed like toys in dark water, luxury that should have felt like a dream. Instead, it felt like a gilded cage. She waited until 2 a.m. before attempting to contact Rodriguez. The burner phone was hidden in her bra, the only place she'd gambled Dae Sung's security wouldn't search. But when she pulled it out, her hands shaking, the screen showed zero signal. Looking for this. Keisha spun around so fast she nearly dropped the phone. Dae Sung stood in her doorway, no knock, no warning, dressed in black pajama pants and nothing else. The tiger tattoo sprawled across his throat and collarbone, and in the dim light more ink was visible. Korean characters cascading down his ribs, a dragon coiling around his left bicep. Her mouth went dry. I can explain. The penthouse has signal jammers. He moved into the room with that unnerving grace, and suddenly the space felt much smaller. Active after midnight security protocol, his eyes fixed on the phone in her hand. Who are you calling? My cousin. I told you, at 2 a.m.? Try again. He was closer now, close enough that she could see the exhaustion carving lines around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. I've been in this business long enough to recognize a burner phone, Keisha. So I'll ask you one more time and I suggest you tell me the truth. Who were you calling? Her mind raced through a dozen lies, a dozen explanations, but his eyes held hers with an intensity that made deception feel impossible. Someone who needs to know I'm safe, she finally said. Half-truth, the best she could manage. A boyfriend? The question surprised her. No. Then who? He reached out, and she expected him to grab the phone. Instead, his fingers circled her wrist, that same gentle but firm grip from the kitchen. Who has you so scared that you're trying to contact them in the middle of the night? I'm not scared. You're terrified. His free hand came up, fingers tilting her chin toward him. Your pulse is racing, your pupils are dilated. You're either terrified or... He stopped, eyes widening slightly. Or aroused. Heat flooded her face. I'm not... Which is it, Keisha? His voice dropped to a rough whisper. Are you afraid of me? Or attracted to me? Both, she admitted before she could stop herself. The word hung between them, electric and dangerous. Dae Sung's pupils dilated, his grip on her wrist tightening fractionally. For one breathless moment, she thought he might kiss her, thought she might let him. Then he released her and stepped back, running a hand through his dark hair. This is a bad idea. What is? This. You. Everything about this situation. But his eyes never left her face. You saved my life and now I can't stop thinking about you. Can't stop wondering why you did it. Can't stop noticing things I shouldn't notice. Like what? Her voice came out husky. Like the way you bite your lower lip when you're nervous. Like how your eyes flash when you're angry. Like... He stopped himself, jaw clenching. Like I said, bad idea. Keisha's heart hammered. This was dangerous territory. Forbidden. Wrong on every level. But God help her. She wanted to step closer. Wanted to trace that tiger tattoo with her fingers. Wanted to know if his lips were as soft as they looked. Why is it a bad idea? She heard herself ask. Because I'm a criminal. Because you're... He paused, studying her with those two intelligent eyes. Because you're hiding something. Something big. And when I find out what it is, one of us is going to get hurt. The observation was too close to truth. Too perceptive. Maybe I'm just a maid who made a stupid choice, she deflected. No. He moved closer again and her back hit the wall. She hadn't even realized she'd been retreating. You're not just anything, you're smart, observant. You notice details in that kitchen that most people would have missed. You move like someone with training, not housekeeping training, something else. Panic clawed at her throat. You're being paranoid. Paranoia has kept me alive this long. His hands braced on either side of her head, caging her in. So tell me, Keisha Williams from Liberty City, what are you really doing in my home? Keeping it clean? The sarcasm was defensive, desperate. His lips curved into something dark and amused. Try again. What do you want me to say? That I'm some kind of spy? Some undercover agent? The words were meant as mockery, but his expression shifted. Just a flicker, but she saw it. Are you? Of course not. The lie tasted bitter. I'm exactly what I appear to be. A woman trying to survive in a city that chews people up and spits them out. You offered me a job, I took it. That's the whole story. I don't believe you. Then don't keep me here. She met his gaze defiantly. Let me go. Release me from your protection or your captivity or whatever you want to call this. No, the word was absolute. Because even if you're lying, especially if you're lying, someone still tried to kill me tonight, and you're still the only witness. Which means you're staying right here until I figure out what the hell is going on. So I'm a prisoner. You're protected. His face was inches from hers now, and she could feel his breath against her lips. There's a difference. Feels the same from where I'm standing. Does it? His hand came up, fingers tracing the line of her jaw down her throat, feather-light and devastating. Because from where I'm standing, you're not trying very hard to get away. He was right. She was pressed against the wall, trapped by his body, and she wasn't pushing him away, wasn't screaming, wasn't doing any of the things a smart woman would do. Instead, she was leaning into his touch, tilting her head to give him better access, letting her eyes flutter closed as his fingers traced patterns on her skin. "This is wrong," she whispered. "I know." His lips brushed her temple. "Feather-light. Doesn't change the fact that I want you." The admission sent shockwaves through her system. "Dae-sung, say it again." "What?" "My name." His forehead pressed against hers. "You've never said it before. Say it again." "Dae-sung." It came out like a prayer, like a curse. His control cracked. She felt it in the way his body tensed, the way his breathing roughened. For one electric moment, she thought he would close the distance, would claim her mouth with his, and damn the consequences. Instead, he pulled back, putting deliberate space between them. "Get some sleep," he said roughly. "We have a long day tomorrow. The summit begins, and I need to know who betrayed me before the other families arrive." "And me?" Her voice shook. "What happens to me?" His eyes burned into hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. "You stay close, you stay safe, and you figure out whether you're going to keep lying to me or start telling the truth." He left without another word, and Keisha slid down the wall, her legs unable to support her weight anymore. She was in so much trouble. The summit began at sunset in Dae-sung's penthouse ballroom, a space Keisha had cleaned but never seen in use. Now it glittered with dangerous elegance. Crystal chandeliers casting prismatic light, tables laden with Korean delicacies, kimchi, bulgogi, japchae, soju bottles chilling in silver buckets, and men in expensive suits who carried death in their eyes. 5 families, 5 territories across the United States, all converging in Miami to discuss expansion, profits, and the future of Korean organized crime in America. Keisha watched from the service hallway, dressed in a simple black dress that Dae-sung's assistant had provided. "You'll serve tonight," he'd told her that morning. "Stay visible. Stay close to me. If whoever sent Min is here, I want them to see that you're under my protection." Bait. He was using her as bait. Rodriguez would be thrilled if he knew. The FBI had been trying to get someone inside this summit for months, but Rodriguez didn't know she was about to walk into a room full of killers with a target painted on her back. "Nervous?" She startled. Dae-sung appeared beside her, devastating in a charcoal suit with that white shirt underneath, 4 buttons undone as always. The tiger tattoo a bold statement of power and danger. His hair was styled back, showing the sharp angles of his face, the scar through his eyebrow that somehow made him more beautiful. "Should I be?" she asked. "Yes." No hesitation. His hand found the small of her back, warm through the thin fabric of her dress. "These men are predators. They'll smell your fear. Don't give them the satisfaction." "Easy for you to say. You're one of them." His eyes cut to her, dark and unreadable. "Am I?" Before she could answer, he guided her into the ballroom. Every head turned. Conversation died. The weight of multiple gazes settled on her like physical pressure. She was the only black woman in a room full of Korean men and their carefully selected associates. The only unknown element. The only one who didn't belong. "Gentlemen," Dae-sung's voice carried authority and barely concealed threat. "Let me introduce Keisha Williams. She saved my life last night when someone attempted to poison my dinner. She's under my protection now. Anyone who touches her answers to me." The pronouncement was clear, possessive, a line drawn in blood and silk. An older man stepped forward, silver hair, expensive watch, eyes like chips of ice. "Dae-sung, always so dramatic. We heard about the incident. Unfortunate." "Unfortunate?" Dae-sung's hand tightened on Keisha's back. "Someone tried to kill me in my own home, Chairman Park. I'd call that more than unfortunate." Chairman Park's gaze slid to Keisha, assessing and dismissive. "And you trust this woman? A stranger? How do you know she wasn't part of the plan? Because if she was, I'd be dead." Dae-sung's voice was blade-sharp. Instead, she destroyed the evidence and saved my life. That buys a great deal of trust. Or makes her a convenient scapegoat when the real assassin strikes again. Another man spoke, younger, arrogant, with a scar bisecting his left cheek. Maybe she's playing you, Dae-sung, using your attraction against you. The implication hung heavy. Keisha felt Dae-sung's body coil with tension beside her. Are you suggesting I can't distinguish between strategy and seduction, Min-jun? His tone could freeze flames. Or are you volunteering information about last night's attempt? Min-jun's expression flickered, just a fraction, but enough. I'm suggesting that bringing an outsider to this summit is a dangerous move. She doesn't belong here. She belongs where I say she belongs. Dae-sung pulled Keisha closer, his arm sliding around her waist in a gesture that was both protective and proprietary. Anyone have a problem with that? Silence, heavy and loaded with unspoken threats. Then Chairman Park smiled, a thin, sharp expression that didn't reach his eyes. Of course not. Your household, your rules. Shall we begin the discussions? The tension broke like a snapped wire. Conversations resumed. Men moved toward the tables. But Keisha felt the undercurrents. Suspicion, resentment, and something darker. Calculation. That went well, she murmured as Dae-sung guided her toward the bar. That was a warning shot. He poured 2 glasses of soju, pressing one into her hand. Min-jun is Park's nephew, second in command of the Los Angeles territory. If he's defensive, it's because he has something to hide. You think he sent Min? I think Park's family has been trying to expand into Miami for the past year. I think poisoning me during the summit would create chaos and opportunity. His eyes tracked Min-jun across the room. And I think they just revealed their hand by getting defensive. Keisha sipped the soju, the burn grounding her. So what now? Now we play the game, smile, serve drinks. Listen. His hand found hers under the bar, fingers intertwining in a gesture hidden from the others. And stay close to me. If they make a move, it'll be tonight. The next 3 hours were a masterclass in tension. Keisha moved through the room with a silver tray, serving drinks and appetizers while listening to conversations in Korean, a language she'd learned at the FBI Academy but pretended not to understand. She heard enough to make her blood run cold. Territory disputes, shipments of illegal goods, money laundering through legitimate businesses, everything Rodriguez needed for indictments that would cripple these organizations. And she couldn't record any of it. You look troubled. Keisha turned to find Min-jun beside her, too close, invading her space with deliberate intimidation. Up close, she could see the cruelty in his eyes, the violence barely leashed beneath his expensive suit. Just focused on my work, she replied evenly. Your work. He smiled, and it was a predator's expression. Interesting choice of words for someone who's more prisoner than employee. Tell me, does Dae-sung keep you locked in that penthouse, or are you free to leave whenever you want? I'm exactly where I want to be. Are you? His hand shot out, gripping her wrist, tight enough to hurt. Or are you in over your head? A little girl playing in a world of monsters. Let her go, Min-jun. Dae-sung's voice cut through the space like a blade. He was there in seconds, his hand clamping on Min-jun's shoulder with enough force to make the other man wince. She's clumsy, Min-jun said smoothly, releasing Keisha's wrist. Almost dropped her tray, I was steadying her. Liar! Dae-sung's eyes promised violence. Touch her again, and I'll break your hand, family alliance or not. Min-jun's smile turned vicious. So protective. One has to wonder what she's giving you to earn such loyalty. Or is it just the novelty? I've heard American men have certain preferences for exotic women. The racist implication made Keisha's vision go red. But before she could respond, Dae-sung moved. His fist connected with Min-jun's jaw, a controlled hit that sent the man stumbling backward into a table. Glasses shattered. Conversations stopped. Every eye in the room fixed on them. You want to question my judgment? Dae-sung's voice was deadly calm. You want to insult her? Go ahead. But understand that every word against her is a word against me, and I don't tolerate disrespect in my home. Chairman Park surged forward. Dae-sung, this is inappropriate. What's inappropriate is your nephew attempting to intimidate someone under my protection. Dae-sung didn't back down. What's inappropriate is him questioning my authority. What's inappropriate is sending an assassin to kill me and thinking I wouldn't figure out who was responsible. The accusation hung in the air like a bomb. Park's expression went cold. You're making serious allegations. I'm stating facts. Dae-sung pulled out his phone, pulling up footage. Min Soo-jin, kitchen assistant. Hired 8 months ago through a staffing agency your family owns. Disappeared the moment the poisoning attempt failed. Want to explain that? The room erupted. The summit dissolved into chaos within minutes. Chairman Park denied everything. Min-jun lunged at Dae-sung with a knife that appeared from nowhere. Security swarmed. Gunshots echoed, warning shots into the ceiling that sent crystal raining down like deadly snow. And Keisha ran, not away from danger, toward it, because Min-jun's knife was aimed at Dae-sung's throat, and her body moved before her brain engaged. She grabbed a soju bottle from the bar and swung with everything she had. Glass exploded against Min-jun's temple. He went down hard, blood streaming down his face, the knife clattering across marble floors. Silence descended like a hammer. Every person in the room stared at her, at the black woman who'd just assaulted a high-ranking member of the Park family, at the maid who'd proven she was anything but helpless. Keisha. Dae-sung's voice was rough with something she couldn't identify. What did you just do? Saved your life again. Her hands were shaking, adrenaline screaming through her veins. You're welcome. Chairman Park's face was purple with rage. She attacked my nephew. This is an act of war. Your nephew attacked me first. Dae-sung moved to Keisha's side, his body a shield between her and the room. She defended me, as is her right under my protection. She's a civilian. She's mine. The possessiveness in those two words made Keisha's breath catch. And if you have a problem with how I run my territory, Park, then we can settle this right now. You, me, and the question of who tried to poison me in my own home. The standoff stretched. Security forces on both sides armed and ready. The other 3 family heads watching with calculating eyes, trying to determine which side to support. Then a new voice cut through the tension. Perhaps we should all take a breath. A woman emerged from the shadows, tall, elegant, dressed in a white suit that screamed power and money. Korean, probably mid-40s, with eyes that missed nothing. Chairwoman Choi. Dae-sung inclined his head respectfully. I wasn't aware you were attending tonight. I arrived late, just in time to witness this spectacle. Her gaze swept the room, landing on Keisha with interest. The girl who saved Dae-sung Lee. Twice now, I hear. Woman, Keisha corrected before she could stop herself. I'm a woman, not a girl. Chairwoman Choi's eyebrows rose, then she smiled, genuine amusement lighting her face. My apologies, the woman who saved our host. Tell me, do you make a habit of inserting yourself into situations that could get you killed, only when the alternative is watching someone die? Interesting. Choi's attention shifted to Park. Chairman, your nephew pulled a weapon in Dae-sung's home during a peace summit. That alone is grounds for sanction. Add the evidence of your family's involvement in the poisoning attempt, and you're looking at exclusion from the alliance. Park's face went white. You can't. I can. I speak for the San Francisco territory, which carries considerable weight in this alliance. Her voice was silk over steel. Dae-sung has evidence. He has witnesses. He has cause. What he hasn't done is declare open war, which shows remarkable restraint. I suggest you take your nephew and leave before that restraint runs out. The power play was masterful. Within minutes, Park and Min-jun were escorted out by security, their protests falling on deaf ears. The other family heads murmured amongst themselves, recalculating alliances and territories in light of this new development. Chairwoman Choi approached Keisha, studying her with unnerving intensity. You're either very brave or very stupid. A little bit of both, Keisha admitted. I like you. Choi glanced at Dae-sung. Keep her close. Women who fight for what they believe in are rare in our world. Don't let her get away. I don't plan to. Dae-sung's hand found Keisha's, threading their fingers together. Thank you for your support, Chairwoman. Thank me by surviving long enough to take your father's place as head of the East Coast Alliance. Choi's expression softened fractionally. He would be proud of you tonight, standing for your principles even when it cost you politically. After she left, the summit attendees gradually departed, offering condolences and thinly veiled threats in equal measure. By midnight, the ballroom was empty, except for Dae-sung, Keisha, and the cleanup crew removing the evidence of violence. You shouldn't have done that, Dae-sung said quietly. Keisha turned to face him. Which part? Destroying the poison? Warning you? Or hitting Min-jun with a bottle? All of it. But his eyes betrayed him, warm with something that looked dangerously like affection. You put yourself at risk. For me. You keep saying that like it surprises you. It does. He stepped closer, and the ballroom suddenly felt intimate despite its size. I've spent my entire life surrounded by people who would sell me out for the right price, People who follow me out of fear or greed or ambition. No one has ever—" He stopped, jaw clenching. "No one has ever chosen me because they thought I was worth saving." Keisha's heart cracked. "Dae-sung, I know you're hiding something." His hands cupped her face, thumbs stroking her cheekbones. "I know you're not just a maid. I know there are secrets between us that could destroy whatever this is becoming, but right now in this moment I don't care. You should care. I know." His forehead touched hers. "But I can't seem to make myself push you away. Can't seem to remember all the reasons why this is a terrible idea." "Because it is," she whispered. "The worst idea. Dangerous and stupid and—" He kissed her, soft at first, tentative, as if asking permission. Then deeper, when she gasped against his mouth, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. He tasted like soju and danger, and something uniquely him that made her head spin. His arms wrapped around her waist, lifting her until her feet left the ground. She wound her legs around his hips instinctively, the kiss turning desperate, hungry, everything they'd been holding back for days exploding between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dae-sung's eyes were black with desire. "Tell me to stop," he rasped. "Tell me this is wrong and I'll walk away." She should. God, she should. She was FBI. He was a criminal. This was the biggest mistake of her life. Instead, she pulled him back down for another kiss. "Don't stop," she breathed against his lips. "Please don't stop." He carried her out of the ballroom, through the penthouse to his private suite, a space she'd never entered. The door closed behind them, and the last of Keisha's rational thought dissolved. Tomorrow she'd contact Rodriguez. Tomorrow she'd remember her mission. Tomorrow she'd face the consequences of falling for the man she was supposed to betray. But tonight she was just Keisha, and he was just Dae-sung. Two people who'd saved each other's lives. Two people who couldn't stay away from each other no matter how dangerous the attraction. Two people who were about to make the kind of mistake that changes everything. His hands found the zipper of her dress. Her fingers worked the buttons of his shirt. The tiger tattoo was revealed inch by inch, and she traced it with her lips, feeling him shudder beneath her touch. Keisha. Her name was a prayer, a plea, a promise. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm right here." And she was. Completely. Utterly. Despite every reason she shouldn't be. The night swallowed them both. 3 months later, Keisha stood in the Miami FBI field office, facing Special Agent Rodriguez across a steel table. "You compromised the entire operation," he said coldly. "Fell for the target. Destroyed months of work." "I saved lives," she corrected, "including his. He's a criminal. He's a man trying to survive in a world that's been trying to kill him since he was 16. She met Rodriguez's glare steadily. "And I'm done. I quit." She'd made her choice the morning after the summit. Waking in Dae-sung's arms, watching sunrise paint his face in gold, seeing the vulnerability he only showed her, she'd told him everything. The FBI, the mission, her real purpose in his home. He should have killed her, had every right to. Instead, he'd held her while she cried. "I know," he'd whispered. "I've known for weeks. Had you investigated the moment you saved my life? And you kept me anyway? I kept you because you chose me over your duty. Because you're the first person who ever saw me as more than a monster." His lips brushed her temple. "Because I'm in love with you, Keisha Williams, and I don't care what that costs me." Now she walked out of the FBI building into Miami sunshine, where a black car waited at the curb. Dae-sung leaned against it, devastating in jeans and that white shirt. 4 buttons undone, tiger tattoo on full display. "Ready?" he asked. She thought about everything she was giving up. Her career, her mission, the life she'd planned. Then she thought about everything she was gaining, him, them, a future neither of them had expected, but both desperately wanted. "Ready," she confirmed. He opened the door, and she slid inside. Together they drove into their dangerous, impossible, beautiful future. Some love stories start with a poison, some with a warning. Theirs started with both and survived anyway.